Hi everyone, this is Paul, and I'm here with my application ScoutTrax. For those of you that don't know, ScoutTrax is an application that allows Boy Scouts to keep track of their rank requirements, merit badges, goals, and service hours, all in one place, all on their Android device. I'm here today with my final update for ScoutTrax, so I guess Sprint 6, if you will. So Sprint 6 for me was primarily just bug fixes. It was some catch-up, but that said, I'm going to kind of go over the entire application as a whole since this is the final deliverable, and specifically some of the bug fixes or stuff that I was working on in just this sprint. So in my application, there are 4 major use cases: rank progress tracking, goal setting, merit badge tracking, and service hour tracking. I was able to implement all 4 of these use cases without too much trouble. They are all functional and usable for the user. And so for me, it ended up being about a sprint for every use case. So sprint 1 was basically getting the groundwork, getting my feet wet because this was an Android application. This isn't something I've done before. Getting the basic structures of the application together to support the other 4 use cases. So sprint 2 was then recording rank progress was my focus. Sprint 3 was handling merit badges. Sprint 4 was service hours, and set 5 was goal management for Boy Scouts. And so that's kind of the lay of the land so far. And to get more specifically with just this, some development that I did for this sprint was I wanted to fix the user interface for Scouts. I thought it was a little bit clunky, so I cleaned it up a little bit. And I also wanted to fix some bugs with data serialization that were occurring when the application was restarted. Things that I didn't get to that I wish I could have, got to if I had more time was automatic requirement completion for merit badges and service hours. So, for example, some of your rank requirements are to do certain merit badges and service hours. So, if you would have marked a merit badge complete in the merit badge section, I was hoping that that would also mark it in rank, but I didn't get a chance to do that. And the same thing for service hours. I wish I could have gotten to that, but that didn't get to happen. The other thing that I would have liked to do was allow for the ability for users to customize their notification firing time. Right now, it fires on the day of at midnight for users. So if you set a goal for March 31st, it'll fire March 31st at midnight. So you'll get the notification, but I wanted the users to be able to customize that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to design a UI for that, so it didn't happen. But that said, anyway, I'm going to now do a user demo of how the application works as a whole, and kind of show you some of the improvements that I made as part of this sprint. Okay, so now I'm going to give a general overview of the application, how it works for the user, and then I'll go into specifically what I did for this last sort of 2 weeks. So there are 4 major use cases here, as I said earlier. They're all displayed nice and cleanly on this front UI here. Rank progress, merit badges, service hours, and goals. You just click the button that you want to go to. Simple enough. So for the rank progress function, there's a slider bar at the top that allows you to scroll through all of the Boy Scout ranks, starting with Scout all the way up to Eagle. And they're listed, all of the requirements for a specific rank, they're listed in a nice list view here. And you can click on them, get more details about it, and set either a goal or mark it complete. So I'll describe the goal use case a little bit later while we're talking about it, because that'll come up later in the video. But to mark a requirement complete, you can just check complete, mark the date it was complete, and boom, it is marked complete here. You can see right there. It's marked complete as of April 20th, 2018. We are set to go. And then these are all in chronological order, so it makes sense it's a slider bar. That was one of the usability improvements that was made here. And that's basically the rank progress view, nice and simple. Merit badges are pretty much the same way, with a little bit of a twist, because a lot of times people won't keep track of their specific merit badge requirement completion. Sometimes they'll just keep track of if they completed the entire merit badge. There's also this checkbox here that allows you to mark the entire badge complete if you so choose. Now, since there are also 140 merit badges, the slider really wasn't going to cut it, so we have a drop-down menu of all the 100-something merit badges that are in the Boy Scouts of America. So again, you can go into an individual requirement and click on it, mark completion, or set a goal for it. Pretty straightforward. It's a very similar view to the rank detail view, just for consistency's sake, so the user isn't super confused when they're switching between each of the use cases. Okay, next is the service hours use case. So for service hours, here I put in some dummy data just earlier so you can kind of see how it works. But if you click on a service event, you can edit it, changing both the name and hours if you so choose. You can also change the date. We have a calendar view here, or delete it. So if I just delete it, it'll drop off the list. On this, again, this is a list view here. So if this list were to go off the screen, you can scroll through and with no problem. All of the pertinent information is displayed on the list view, including the date of the service hour event, the name, and the number of hours that you completed. If you wish to add a service hour event, all you simply do is click the Add button down here, type in the name of the event, and then the number of hours. You can pick a number, you can pick a date, and then hit Save, and it will pop on the list. This is actually sorted chronologically, so the older service events will be at the top, and the more recent ones will be at the bottom. So that's the service hour function. Finally, we have the goal function. You can see here that 2 goals have been set so far for this scout. Requirement 1A, which is a requirement that makes Boy Scouts go on certain activities. We have the goal date is set for 4/28/2018. I can click on it if I want to. I can view the requirement again, and I can edit the date. So let's say I may be struggling a little bit with keeping up with my goals. I can move it to a different day. So I can click the calendar here, pick a different day, and then hit Save. You will be notified on the day of that the goal is due through a little push notification here, and that will display in your notification bar. It'll say, hey, you have a goal due today. And so let's say if I'm just in Chrome, browsing Reddit or something, I can click on the notification, and it'll pop ScoutTrax right up, and you can see what goals are due. And I think that's really nifty because Scouts are sometimes very forgetful, and this is very helpful for them. So now I'm going to sort of talk about some of the bug fixes that I made in this post-last sprint environment. So I wanted to make the user interface a little bit nicer for our Scouts to use. So if you go, this is on the left here is the current build of the application. On the right is an older build of the app. So if you go to the rank progress function and pick a rank, let's say second class, you can see the difference between this on the left and what we have on the right here. Significant difference. The rank is, the rank requirement number is bolded, and it's up at the top here instead of kind of a big wall of text in this list view here. And also, if you complete a requirement, let's see if I can find it here, it will be listed next to the requirement number versus you actually having to go in and click to see if it was completed or not. And that said, this new list view style is consistent throughout the application, as you saw earlier in the demo, and that replaced all the oldest views that basically look like a wall of text. So I think that'll make it a lot easier for Scouts to use this app. And so that's basically it with the user walkthrough. Now I'm going to go over some of the brief SparkNotes version of the code, as much as I can get through in 4 minutes or so, and we'll go from there. Okay, so in terms of the code that makes all this work, whenever the application is launched, this main navigation activity controller is started at runtime, and this basically is the controller that determines which use case you're going to go to. There's buttons, and we send a message to the different use cases depending on which class we're going to go to. So the first one is the rank activity, so we'll go to the rank activity class first, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, for all the other cases, it's exactly the same. So we'll start with rank. And the rank activity controller is called, and that basically manages the screen that you saw with the slider bar and the list view. This handles a lot of information. It pulls from a serialized data collection to actually populate the rank requirement data. And whenever it has a couple listeners in here, there's a progress change listener for the slider bar to change what's displayed depending on which rank you pick. And it also calls other activity classes, which in Android is basically like a specific segment of code that you want to run at the same time. In this case, it's to go into a detail view which had, if you remember from the user demo, had a calendar on it and the completion checkbox. So once you actually click on a requirement, then we go to the rank detail activity controller, and that is where the calendar is displayed. We have the population of the current data if you already have the requirement completed, and then once you save or hit back, the information is sent back to the rank activity controller that you just saw. And that is a quick overview of the rank use case. Next I'll move on to the merit badge use case. It's very similar. We have a merit badge activity controller which populates list view and has a drop down instead of a spinner to pick between merit badges. And again, it's basically the same gist here. We load the data, allow users to modify it, that sort of thing. There's a merit badge model class that also supports the merit badge activity controller. Something that I forgot to mention about the rank class is that there are, in Android, the views are XML. They're all XML. Similar to Java XML, but with different attributes and objects. So I'll just show you the merit badge one because it's pretty straightforward. You can see there's list view. Here's a list view here. That's what we end up sticking stuff into, like with the rank data and that sort of thing. There's a checkbox that users can check on or off. And then the actual spinner, as it's called in Android, or a drop-down menu. Not sure why it's called spinner, but that's what it is. So in terms of merit badge, that's about it. The merit badge class actually utilizes the rank detail activity controller. I misspoke earlier. It's actually the requirement detail activity controller. And because all requirements are essentially the same at their core, we can use that same controller here and without having to rewrite most of the code. So that saved a lot of time being able to reuse that. For the sake of time here, I'm going to kind of go skip to the chase and just talk about what I did since the last sprint, which was sprint 5 in this case. I created a class called requirement row adapter, which basically modifies the default Android view for a row in a list view. And so it basically takes an array list of requirements, and it converts it into a nice pretty like 3-columned row essentially that displays the rank ID or the requirement ID, the completion date if there is one, and the description. And I also made a new view for that. It's called list view requirement row, and you can see this looks kind of familiar to you. There's a text view, 2 text views, and a smaller text view for the description. In fact, there's a slight tweak that goes into it for the goals. In the goal list view, there's a different class. Because this is a requirement row view. There's also a goal row adapter that's very similar, but instead it takes an array list of goals and converts that into the view. So that said, guys, that's just about it. So thanks for listening in, and I appreciate your attention.